In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Weekly Roundup. I am Fahim Abbas. In this program, we will be discussing important political, economic and social affairs which have happened domestically as well as globally in the light of sermon of Ustad Mohtaram Syed Jawad Naqvi. As always, Mr. Ali is with us. How are you, Mr. Ali?
Not bad, thank you, Fahim. How are you going?
I am very fine. So, how was your last week, Mr. Ali?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Yeah, just how about yourself, Mike?
Yes, it was good. Well, moving toward the program, first of all, we will have to discuss domestic issues and some occasions. There are various domestic issues as well as global issues, but first of all, we would like to discuss about the day of martyrdom of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. As we know that 25th of Muharram al-Haram has marked the day of martyrdom of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and as Ustad Mohtaram has said that the days of birth as well as martyrdom of Imams are basically the days of accord and pledging, and those speakers who have the chance to speak to the general public on these occasions must divert the attention of general public toward the imamat and system of imamat, and their sole purpose of the speakers should be to make people responsible, because till now people are not responsible toward their cause, and they just it is just a custom that people gather on these days and then they just a majlis is held and then just they go back to their home and no practical measures are taken toward the imamat. So practical steps need to be taken and the speakers should make the general public responsible so that the real day can come and the present Imam or Imam Zaman al-Islam can make appearance to the world, and then he can work on the ultimate cause, which was basically the cause of Imamat, for which all the Imams have struggled for 250 years, and then this era and now in the recent era.
Yep. So as you mentioned that this is the day 25th of Muharram on which the Muslims around the world commemorate this day as the Shahadat of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Unfortunately, in the history when we study about Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, it is a fact that he is the Imam who has been left alone, and during his tenure of Imamat, which is more than 30 years, actually,
yes, 35 years.
Yeah, to be correct, and because he lived for around like 57 years or something. But all what an ordinary Shia Muslim knows about him, what we hear in Majalis, is only mainly that on the day of Ashura he was sick, and the journey he traveled from Karbala to Kufa, and then from Kufa to Syria, and for the rest of the life he just continued to mourn and cry for the tragedy of Karbala. But his life is there's not much material written on it, and also because we people, we learn Islam and Deen from only majalis and whatever khutbah or khatibs tell us, and we don't bother studying and just learning about our Aima. That's why we don't know much about our Aima. And we have Quran, we have Najul Balagha and also Saifa Kamla at our home, but no one bothers studying it because it's only kept for barakah. So this Imam, when we go deep, study deeply his Imamat tenure, then we come to know that the people at that time, although Imam was present, but they continued to go on their own path and didn't ever come close to him and ask him regarding the guidance that how should they go and take the revenge of Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
Yes, the era of Imamat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was very important.
Yep.
And also people were very scared because of the Karbala, because the Karbala occurred in 61 Hijri, and after that the era of Imamat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam started, and Shias were practically in no connection with Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, rather they were in connection with Muhammad ibn Hanfiya, or there were different Shia factions and different political parties of Shias, but practically They just had unfortunately ignored Imam,
Yep.
and they had made their own Imams.
Yeah, and unfortunate thing is this, that actually after the tragedy of Karbala, Banu Umayyad thought that the system of Imamat or Wilayat, it has actually vanished, and the actually the people who were actually supposed to be the followers of Imamat and Wilayat, they proved them right too, because they totally abandoned their Imam. And
yes, the Shias of Kufa, Shias
Yeah,
of Basra,
exactly.
and other
Yeah.
cities where Shias
Yeah.
were in majority. First of all, their fault was that they didn't come to support Imam Hussain al-Islam.
Yep.
And then during the era of Imam Siyad al-Islam, they were seen nowhere except they're running their own political parties, running their own organizations, and sometimes they were even present with the Zubairis, like different Shia
Yep.
leaders
Yep.
accorded with them, but
Exactly right.
practically no connection with the present
Yep.
Imam,
Yep.
and that was very unfortunate.
Yep. And this tragedy continues as we see the Imam of our time is waiting for people to become ready for actually implementing the Nizam-e-Wilayat on this whole world. But we are actually, or the Shias of this time, they are suffering according to the hadith of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam. They are being attacked from two sides. First thing is this, actually the Nasbis who are attacking, as we saw recently in this gatherings
Yes,
of
we'll be
Nasbis.
talking
that-
about this
Yep.
later, that a
And-
conference
Yep.
held in Karachi.
And they are attacking from outside, and the insiders, the khutbah who come on member, and just the Ghali group who actually misguide people, and not only misguide people, they make the followers of Wilayat and Imamat curse the ulama haq, our Marajain, and Maqam Muazzam Rahbari. And the thing what they are doing is, as Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam said, that this group of people is worse than the actually soldiers of Yazid. And because what they are doing is that they are even practically what we see, that they are keeping people away from their wali and or naib imam, and which is a terrible thing.
Yes,
that they are doing.
contemporarily the situation in Pakistan is worse even than it was during the era of
Yep.
Imam Siyad
Yep.
al-Islam or later on, because at that time it was the custom of Umayyad dynasty and their
Yep.
leaders that
Yep.
during the gatherings, religious gatherings of
Yep.
Jummah and other religious gathering, during
Yep.
the sermons of Eid, they used to use derogatory remarks against the Ahlul Bayt.
Yep.
And whenever they would have forced any Shia of that era to use blasphemous remarks against the
Yep.
Ahlul Bayt, he instead used derogatory remarks against the Umayyad dynasty leaders.
Yep.
But now the situation is opposite.
Yep.
A speaker comes on the stage and he openly use explicitly derogatory remarks against the Naib Imam and other Maraji and clerics, but people just keep on watching them.
Yeah, and no one has got the courage to stop him and tell him that you should be cursed, not our Naib Imam. And the unfortunate thing is this, that actually people have totally abandoned the system of Imamat after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left. And the fact what we see, if, we'll discuss Afghanistan situation later, but we see that wherever the Ahl Sunnat brothers, wherever they get the chance to come in power, they are implementing their system of Khilafat. As we know that in Iraq they tried, when the extremist Sunnis they became in power, they were occupying the areas. They wanted to implement the Khilafat system of Khilafat over there, because they've got sympathy with Khilafat, and majority of Sunni brothers, they believe on Khilafat too. But and same thing they have done in Afghanistan. But unfortunately, when our Shias they get chance, as they did in Iraq, they chose democracy rather than Nizam-e-Imamat. And although we know that the Shias in Iraq or wherever any Shia is present, they have got the strength after Inqilab in Iran. And Inqilab-e-Islami actually strengthened the Shias all around the world, and it provided them identity. But still, our ulama in different parts of the world, except Iran, they are opposing the system of wilayat
Yes,
faqih.
and they mostly talk about democracy. This is
Yep.
very unfortunate. In fact,
Yep.
on the behalf of clerics, although
Yep.
no, there are two factions basically. One are Nasbis, and they just want to
Yep.
kill Shias, and they
Yep.
want to crush Shiaism.
Yep.
And on the other side, there are these speakers and
Yep.
clerics who are just keeping people away from Imamat, and
Yep.
those using derogatory remarks.
Yep.
And so this is very unfortunate. And as
Yep.
Imam Hassan Askari Islam said that these are fragile Shias.
Yep.
So it is the duty and responsibility of clerics in particular
Yep.
and general public who are aware that
Yep.
to protect Shias on these two boundaries and these two fronts.
Yeah.
Well, further moving on, the unprecedented row in Afghanistan continues, as we know that the situation in Afghanistan is dramatic and is changing
Yeah.
day by day. As we know that Taliban have come into power in Afghanistan, and not even a single bullet have been fired by
Yeah.
them, and it was a very peaceful takeover of Taliban. And never ever in the history
Yeah.
a group or a faction came into power and they seized the capital of country without even firing a single bullet.
So
This
easily,
is very
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yep. And except the valley of Panjshir, they have actually occupied most of Afghanistan, and now they're fighting for it. But the media, they are mostly interested in
Yes, dramatic
the
scenes.
dramatic aspects. They don't have to do any, and general public is the same too. They don't have to do anything with the serious aspects.
Yes, media are just showing the videos of 3 people just falling from the plane,
Yeah.
and they are in
And-
the headlines.
Yeah, and how much money Ashraf Ghani has taken, and he has fled Afghanistan, and things like that, so, and how people are desperate to leave Afghanistan and stuff. But what is happening behind the scene, it's quite dangerous.
Yes, as we know that the Afghanistan is on the western frontier of Pakistan,
Yep.
and it was expected, and many analysts were very clear about that it is surely going to affect Pakistan, and
Yep.
now its effects are being seen.
Yep.
Actually, 1 or 2 months ago, when Prime Minister of Pakistan was asked by the American journalist whether he would provide air bases to Afghanistan, he said absolutely not, and that gained international publicity in the international media as well as in the news.
Yeah,
But
later on our
now
foreign
the
ministry
case is
and
totally different.
Yeah, later on our foreign ministry and even Mohd Yusuf, they said that actually America never asked for the air bases. So the air bases which America never asked for, our Prime Minister replied for it, absolutely not. But
Yes,
yeah,
it was a populist remarks,
Yeah.
as our Prime Minister is used to
yeah,
used of doing this.
that's true.
But now the just I can say that the actual problem Pakistan is facing, and which media is not even depicting that it is problem, as federal cabinet has also announced that more than 10,000 foreigners have arrived,
Yep.
and arrangements have been made for them in the hotels of federal capital, like in 5-star hotels. They are staying in 5-star hotels, and also in the southern city of Pakistan, the mega city of Pakistan, Karachi, and they are
Yep.
also some have also have been given asylum in homes made by Prime Minister of Pakistan
Yep.
as a result of campaign
homeless
of
people
homeless
and stuff.
people. And interesting fact is that Americans have just fled their soldiers from Afghanistan back to their own country. So what was the reason why these 10,000 people, or maybe there are some more,
Yeah.
why they are now staying in Pakistan, and who are these people? Speculations are there that mostly these are diplomats and envoys and spies and top military leadership who are responsible for the chaos and anarchy in Afghanistan, and now they are taking rest and enjoying in Pakistan.
Yeah, it is actually insult of the Pakistani immigration rules. I mean, if they were not issued visas when they were leaving Afghanistan, at least their passports and their documents should have been checked in Pakistan airports. But media hasn't been given access to them, and no one knows that how many people have come. Although government is saying that in last 2-3 days around 10,000 people have come, but speculations are that they are even more. And what sort of people they are, we know one thing about them, that they are the planners of the terrorism all around the world, all the Muslim countries which have been destroyed. Actually, the planning was being done by these people in Afghanistan who are here. So there is no check and balance. I mean, have they got the visas, or what issue, what sort of procedure has been followed? No one knows about it. Our neighboring country,
yes,
India.
If Pakistan would have followed the footsteps of India, one diplomat from Afghanistan fled to Afghanistan, and they just halted her.
Yeah,
she was a lady, and they halted her on the airport.
Although she was a Tajik lady, and she was a parliamentarian, Afghan parliamentarian, and she was a friend of India because she didn't want to leave Afghanistan through Iran or Pakistan. But rules are rules. You don't have visa, you go back.
Yes, these thousands of people are not even given visas, and no check and balance, and no one knows who are they and now what are they doing in Pakistan. And the hotels where they are staying has been declared recently as like it is given the status of red zone, and no media can enter there.
One suspicious statement by the American defense minister, he said that the aims and objectives of Taliban and us is same, and the enemy is also common. And he's actually talking about China. So thing is that it's not as simple as it looks like. The media is portraying that they are just coming here and they'll be flying here from their own country. Why couldn't they be transported directly from Afghanistan?
It was very easy for them to, as America has pulled all of their troops back to America, why can't they just pull these their top leadership?
That's true.
Who are so important to them. Why they are staying now in Pakistan. So speculations are very high. And mostly they are expecting that they are staying here for the spying purpose, and the stories will come later on.
That's
when they will do their work, and then they will left Pakistan.
Exactly right.
Well, further moving on, as we have said that American senior official has stated that Taliban and FI are on the same page. And it's mean that they have common enemies and they have common friends. So this is very interesting statement.
It is very interesting statement. Actually, unfortunately, the thing is that there is no research center or like think tank sort of place in Pakistan in which the research could be done, that in the coming time or in future, if any specific sort of situation erupts, then what are we going to do? No one was expecting Taliban to take over Afghanistan so quick, and things have happened really fast, and our government doesn't seem to be prepared for what sort of response they were going to do. And as you said, by this statement, it looks like that ambitions of US are quite like they want to keep an eye on their enemies, and actually they want to get work from Taliban and what the previous government couldn't do for them, and they want to actually do the same job with China, what they did with Soviet Union at that time.
Yes, as you said that there will be certain impacts of this takeover of Taliban in Kabul, and we are recently unaware what will be these effects, because if we talk about the previous era, during the last century, during the 20th century, one event occurred was the Russian Revolution, Communist Revolution, and also known as Bolshevik Revolution, and this revolution had unprecedented effects on the whole world. More than 50 to 60 countries became communist, supporter of communism, or they were totally being converted to communism states, and like Europe was a nightmare, and they just wanted to stop that communism, so that the era of Cold War began, and after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, ultimately it led to the disintegration of Soviet, and then the communism was weakened. Then at the same time, during that century, another event which took place was the Islamic Revolution of Iran, and it took place with the courage and leadership of Imam Khomeini and the brave and courageous people of Iran. And it also had unprecedented effects in the crescent of Shia world, like in Lebanon, as we have seen in the past, that Hezbollah emerged as one of the major stakeholders and parts in the region. and similarly in Syria and Yemen, in Iraq. So it had its own effect.
Yep. It is a fact actually, whenever there is an ideological change in any part of the world, I mean, it will affect the whole world, as because there are two sort of changes what we have seen recently. If there is a change in any the government of a country because of the foreign influence, as it occurred in Egypt because of the foreign influence, the
Yes, during the Arab
Morsi
Spring.
came into power, but I mean the army took over again and Sisi is back into the government. I mean, this was just a temporary change, but the change, ideological change, as you said, in Russia and Iran did affect, and Arab countries knew about the change what had come in Iran, and that's why soon after Inqilab-e-Iran or Inqilab-e-Islami, they did support Saddam Hussein and he attacked Iran, and the war continued for 8 years, and because they wanted to stop the Inqilab over there, they were afraid that this sort of awakening, if it spreads in the whole Middle East, then their governments are in danger. And that is actually a thing which we should really be thinking about, because we know that majority of Pakistanis, they are supporting Taliban, and either they are it doesn't matter if they are extremists or they are liberal. When the environment creates, even the liberals, they start to support that sort of system ideologically,
yes,
if it suits them.
As we know that it is ideological change in Afghanistan,
yep.
And so if we call this Talibanization, it will be having its local as well as regional as well as global
yep.
impacts.
Yep.
It will have its impact on the region as well as internally, and some of these effects will be the followers of this ideology of Talibanization will be galvanized around the world, and
yep.
They will have the courage to take the actions which before the success of this movement.
Egypt is actually a country of the choice, because this sort of Islamic revolution thing, or the voices of caliphate, they actually started to come from Egypt. The Muslim Brotherhood, they started this movement before anyone else, and they also claim that even the Inqilab-e-Islami is also was a fruit of it. But, I mean, I don't agree with it, but actually that's what they say. So the change in Afghanistan can affect these sort of countries, the people of the countries who love this sort of Nizam-e Khilafat. Then, I mean, the people might wake up and they start to struggle regarding this. It can revive them.
Yes, another chance is that the sleeping cells of this ideology will
yep.
also become active once again.
Yep.
Like the cases have occurred in Pakistan, the
yep.
Pakistani faction of Taliban.
Yep.
They just appeared on the Babusar top, and then they stayed there for the whole day, and then they showed that we are here in Pakistan, and they were also accusing Pakistan government that it has not pledged according to the accord which they had with the Pakistani government.
Yep.
So these movements can also erupt.
Yep. And also we are seeing as you said, that our ISPR representative, he had a few more than a couple of weeks back, he had said that if Taliban takes over, they are able to take over Afghanistan, and they are able to take over Kabul, then the sleeping cells will become active, and we are seeing the effects already. The extremist element in Pakistan, they have started to gather, and they have organized different 2 or 3 conferences already in Karachi, and the language they are using over there, it's just ridiculous.
Yes, we'll be discussing about this in the later section after the break. Other impacts will be like the gangsters and drug traffickers. They will also have the chance that they can indulge with the newly installed government in Afghanistan.
Like they used to do in the previous tenure of Taliban, that people used to be kidnapped here in Pakistan, and they were taken as a hostage to Afghanistan, and they were asking money for it, and this is going to be the effect, and also drugs and this
drug
dealers, they can benefit from this situation.
Yes, they can also show them as the part of Taliban, and they can
exactly, because criminals get the chance to become part of these groups because they don't have their place in society, but when they see this sort of situation, they just merge into these groups and then they take benefit from them. They continue to do what they were doing, but because they are a part of it, so they feel really strong from it. And it is a natural thing that if Iran gets any success in any part of the world, obviously the Shias of Shias of whole world will be happy. And in the same world, if Saudi Arabia gets any sort of like success in the world, the people who are sincere to Saudi Arabia or who have got sympathies to Saudi Arabia, our Ahl Sunnat brothers or the extremists, they will be happy, and this is quite natural.
Yes, these are the certain effects which can take place in Afghanistan as well as Pakistan. There are some effects of this takeover of Taliban which can become practical only in Pakistan. What are these effects, and how peoples and sleeping cells of some terrorist groups are gathering in Pakistan, and how they have been galvanized by this recent takeover of Taliban in Afghanistan. We'll be discussing about this after a short break. Keep in touch with us. Welcome back after the break. As you know that before the break we were discussing about the impacts of government of Taliban which they are going to form in Afghanistan as well as on the region. Now, as we know that in Afghanistan, Taliban have announced that there will be no democracy in Afghanistan, and they are going to form the government on the basis of system of Khilafat. So this is good in one context because they have stuck to their own ideology and they have not gone toward the democracy like different ideologies in the Muslim world have done that. Mostly in Islam it happens that there are two main factions of Islam, Shias and Sunnis, and Shias basically believe in Imamat and Sunnis believe in Khilafat. So practically they both are away from the Imamat as well as Khilafat, and in all Sunni majority countries mostly it is democracy or monarchs, and in Shia, even in Shia majority countries it is democracy except Iran where the system of Imamat and Khilafat is there. So Taliban just want to have this system of Khilafat, and the supporters of Taliban, as we know, that are much more in Pakistan as compared to Afghanistan, because Pakistan is much populated as compared to Afghanistan, and basically Taliban are as our Prime Minister also stated that Taliban were the byproduct of Pakistan. So the supporters and of Taliban in Pakistan are more and they basically have connections in bureaucracy as well as in judiciary and some other factions. They are also present in media, so they can have their impact and they can start a movement.
And actually as you mentioned this point, that the Taliban they came into being here in Pakistan. They were trained by Pakistan Army at the time of Zia-ul Haq. These extremist elements, they were trained in different seminaries, the so-called extremist seminaries here in Pakistan. And General Hamid Gul, as we know, he's a famous name, and there was another right hand of Zia-ul Haq. What was his name? His Mr. Akhtar Abdur Rahman. He was an important personality. He had a role in formation of these Taliban. So because we know that in Pakistan bureaucracy and even some retired generals like General Aslam Beg, they have got some sort of like good feelings for the
Yes, in media
Taliban.
there are many pro-Taliban
and pro-Taliban
journalists.
and many liberal journalists. They are writing columns in favor
Yes,
of.
series of columns
Yeah.
have been written in favor
Yeah.
of Taliban.
So which shows that how much people like this system of Khilafat. And so this, although we know that our country is really weak, our educational system is weak, our politics is weak, our government is weak, everything
Economy
is
is
weak.
fragile.
Economy is fragile, but our army is really strong, and there is a fantastic discipline in it, and that is what actually has stopped our enemies from toppling our or from destroying our country, our Pak army. So hopefully the army, because of the great discipline of army, it won't affect our this well-disciplined institution. But the effects of the Talibanization are already we are seeing in our
Yes,
society.
as the representative of ISPR has also said that the sleeping cells of Taliban can also be galvanized, and
Yep.
now recently a conference held in Karachi,
Yep.
and in which they explicitly were saying that we will
Yep.
stop mornings and majalis and
Yeah.
possessions of Shia,
Yep.
and they were also using derogatory remarks
Yep.
against the Azan, and
Yeah, there is a change in their tone, because
Yes.
we know that Pakistan army had broken their back, but when any sort of regime which the ideology which is actually suiting you, when it comes into power in a neighboring country, it actually increases the morals of these groups, and they are reorganizing. They
yes,
use,
the unprecedented fact is that all these videos are present on the YouTube
yeah,
and on the social media. In the past, they used to have these sort of meetings and gatherings
yeah, secretly.
behind the closed doors or
That's right.
in covertly manner, but now they explicitly did it, and it is present on the social media. So
Yeah.
there is clear change in tone from
Yeah.
them.
But although the people with their thinking that they are taking the power from Taliban, right? Although we know that they are the army of Taliban, it used to be consist of mainly the students which have come from
Yes,
different
they were
assemblies, but
students.
now Taliban is not only students, there are a lot of other people who are included there. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan, they've got same ideology, same Deobandi school of thought they belong to. But the thing is that they should see, these extremist elements in Pakistan, that the Taliban, they have provided security to Majalis
and
Aza,
majalis.
and they have taken part in the processions.
Yes, this Muharram in Afghanistan was the peaceful
F-
era in
first-
the history of
yeah,
Afghanistan.
Yeah, first peaceful Muharram in the history. So they will be hopefully they will be disappointed soon if they are thinking that with the help of Taliban they will be able to
But
do this.
as we know that
Yep.
also during their videos
Yep.
and during the speeches of their speakers, they
Yep.
were talking about 1980s when this movement actually started,
Yep.
and this mass killing of Shia in Pakistan
Yep.
started basically on the basis of sectarianism, and at that time it had different perspective.
Yep.
Just took up the ideology of Islamic revolution in Iran,
Yep.
because Shias were also strengthened by the
Yep.
revolution in the neighboring country of Pakistan, and now as they are galvanized by the takeover of Taliban in Afghanistan, and they want to use this power against the Shias. So government should take some legal action, because their videos are very clear in which they are
Yep.
threatening, and this is a sort of terrorism.
Yeah, and their enmity is quite clear. I mean, it's not only in Pakistan. The ISIS, which were wanting to take over Syria and Iraq, a journalist
Yes.
asked from a ISIS fighter that when are
When
you
will you
going to
fight
attack
Israel?
Israel? That Israel is killing Palestinians and he is doing bad things to Muslims. When are you going to attack them? He said that when the Jews in Israel, they will convert
To
to
Shias.
Shias, then we are going to attack them and we are going to kill them. So this is the common thing in all these groups. Either they are Al Qaeda, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan, or these Lashkar-e-Jhangvi and Sept Sahaba, all these. So we know them that actually they've got only one goal is to eradicate Shias. And one Deobandi alim, he actually told Ustad Mohtaram that in one of the recent gatherings, one extremist mullah even said that he was trying to preach or convince the other ulama that leave the issue of Qadianis because they are not so dangerous for us. Focus on Shias because they are more dangerous. So, and they are actually the troublemakers in Pakistan. So
yes, if we talk about the demography of Pakistan,
yep.
It is mostly Sunni dominated, but there are also Shias,
Yep.
and Shias are also in majority.
Yep.
5 to 6 crore of Shias are present in Pakistan, which is a huge number,
Yep.
Even more than the whole population of Afghanistan.
Yep.
So definitely they cannot undermine Shias by these sort of threats and these sort of their assertive
Yep.
speeches,
Yep.
and this is not going to affect Shias much. But here there is a role that they basically want to drag Shias into this sectarian conflict and sectarian violence. So it is the duty of clerics and Shias ulmas to not indulge into this sort of war and in this sort of sectarian violence in which they want to indulge Shias, because this will be totally waste of time, energy, and
it's going
finance.
to actually only cause destruction. No one is going to benefit from it. Unity among Shias as well as unity among the Muslims is the need of the time, and it is the teaching of Quran too.
Teaching of Quran as well as the need of time, and the role of ulmas and clerics basically is to unite these factions, because it is very clear that those who are Nasbis, they have this hatred for Shias, and it is not just now they are showing their hatred. This hate has they have hated Shias for hundreds of years.
And it's only a small faction
yes,
which have got that. Although now it is also needed from our Sunni ulama that they should show courage. So some of the ulama, they gave statements, really nice statements regarding Shia Muslims, but because of the pressure which comes from this small group of terrorists, they some of them, they take their statements back. And this is the time to show the courage and tell the people and actually distance them from these terrorist groups and isolate them. And if our Sunni brothers, they can do it, and our Shia community, if they can get rid of the professionals who come on member and insult the personalities of other sect, and they ban them by themselves, then obviously situation will be really different.
Yes, one other step which Shias should take regarding these speeches is the legal action. They should lodge FIR against those speakers who have used derogatory remarks against the Ahlul Bayt as well as followers of Ahlul Bayt, because they were explicitly saying that will stop these majalis and processions, which is basic right of every citizen of Pakistan to follow their own religion. And they were so explicit. So government of Pakistan as well as Chief Justice, who used to take so much actions on
even like small TikTokers and
so some more action might not be taken, but Shia should launch FIRs as well as legal action should be taken against them. And then there is the role of ulmas on the both sides, clerics, Shia clerics as well as Sunni clerics, that they should separate their Sunni clerics should inform their general public, and these terrorist factions, which are tiny and very small in number, because Pakistan is very populated country and like there might be in thousands. So Sunnis should separate themselves from them, because killing a Muslim like is a very huge sin, and they have been doing this for many years. So government of Pakistan should also take legal action against them, and now Shia's clerics also have the responsibility that they should lodge and take legal action against those who use derogatory remarks against the personalities of Ahl Sunnah, then so that this this recent tension in Pakistan, which has resulted from the recent takeover of Taliban in Afghanistan, have resulted in Pakistan, it should be neutralized.
That's right. And this is the need of the time, as we said, that Nasbiyat and this Ghali sort of speakers, they should all be banned. And we know that Ghasbiyat is a sort of kufr, that uh, if any Nasbi who hates Ahl Bayt goes to like really deep into that hatred, that he starts to even praise the enemies of Ahl Bayt. So this is the sort of these are the sort of people who should be isolated in the society, and if they are not appreciated by general public, and this can only happen with awareness in the
Yes.
public, and because of the ignorance, no, people get exploited by these so-called professionals and these people who are selling the hatred. So if ulama have got the role to play, as you said, that to awaken people and to give them the sort of awareness and tell them what is Islami Nab and the actual teaching of Islam.
Yes, the actual teaching of Islam should be preached because they are
Yeah.
very beautiful, and
Yeah.
it has the lesson of unity, and it has space, and also the Constitution of Pakistan.
Yeah.
Basically, it accepts all the citizens of Pakistan,
Yeah.
and all the citizens of Pakistan are equal.
Yeah, no one
according to
can
the
no one
Constitution.
can stop Shias from giving azans or doing azadari, because a Shia made this country, and obviously there was no question of Shia or Sunnis when we were making this country. And the thing is that, as
Yes,
Qazi Azam
Pakistan
Muhammad
is a
Jinnah said,
homeland
that yeah,
to both Sunnis
Yeah.
as well as Shias, and
Yeah.
even to non-Muslim minorities.
yeah,
They were born here, they
That's
have
true.
to live here,
that's right. Yeah,
and they have to die here. So no
Yeah.
question about
yeah.
like they cannot stop Shias.
That's just wishful thinking of these so-called terrorists that they can do it. And the as we know that this is a hadith of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that actually the remembrance of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, it gives such sort of energy to people, and it will continue to just give the energy to people till the end of the world. And I mean, no one can stop Ghami Hussain and whatever they are thinking.
Yes,
It's
it
impossible.
is even against the basic teachings of Ahl Sunnah, because of Majlis of Imam Hussain
Yeah.
alayhi salam.
And some ulama are doing really nice
Yes.
things, like our Sayyid Jawad Naqvi, Hafazahullah, and Maulana Tariq Jamil, and Engineer Muhammad Ali, and we see different other scholars. They have come forward, they have taken these brave steps, and they are telling the people that this is not the actual teaching of Islam.
Yes, we pray for the safety of Pakistan.
Yep.
So, as we know that Afghanistan, the situation in Afghanistan is advancing day by day, and as Taliban are just ready and preparing themselves to take over, and they have just announced that there will be no democracy in Afghanistan, rather they will be following the system of Khilafat. So, but from the perspective of Pakistan, more than 10,000 foreigners, as some of our according to the informations of federal cabinet, they have said that more than 10,000 of foreigners have reached in Pakistan, and now they are staying in the hotels of federal capital Islamabad as well as in Karachi. So who are they? And still there is no confirmation, but there are speculations that these are spies as well as top level diplomats as well as top level of military leadership, who are basically responsible for the chaos and anarchy in the Afghanistan for the past 2 decades. So Pakistan have to show its clear stance, because they can also impact CPAC, and it can also have perilous impacts for the CPAC, because the basic purpose of US after pulling their troops from Afghanistan is now they want to disrupt the CPAC project, and they will be in war with the China, and as we know that CPAC is very important part of it. So Pakistan have to be very vigilant. And furthermore, as we know that there will be certain impacts of Talibanization in the region, like in region as well as locally as well as globally, it can have its impact on the Muslim world as well as on the whole world, like it has been in the past, like during the communist revolution as well as the Islamic revolution which occurred in Iran. It can also have its impact in Pakistan, as we know that certain terrorist factions can get galvanized, and now they are gathering, and they are showing that they are present in Pakistan. So clear actions, some legal actions need to be taken against these sort of factions, so that it will be good for the safety as well as security of Pakistan. So we pray for the security and safety of Pakistan as well as our neighboring country Afghanistan, and for the whole Muslim world. So this is it from us today, and we'll keep in touch with you in the next week. Till then, it's goodbye. Allah Hafiz.